Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Eclectic Knitter Podcast. My name, of course, is Raylene. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Kamana Knits. Excuse me, I've been a little sick for the last 2 weeks. It never got really bad, just blowing my nose a touch and a little bit of minor chest congestion. So yeah, my voice may sound a little funky. I also haven't talked really this morning. It is 11:40 a.m. on Sunday, October 20th. Like I said, I haven't really talked. I think I've said 2 words to the dog, but I've been up for like 3 hours, I think. So today's show will have finish objects, whips, no spinning because my spinning's over there, and pull anything off the bobbin or off the wheel. And then I wanted to have a quick discussion about advertising and talking about patterns and yarn dyers on podcasts and Instagram, because I thought that may be interesting. So the first thing will be finish objects, and I have quite a few, but they're small. So the first thing, and these have already been worn and washed once, I finished my Champaign socks. The fiber is by Woolberry Fiber Co. It's not as well, I mean, it is purple, but it's a very light lilac-y purple, pinky kind of color with the speckles. I used the New Depths heel. The first one I did per pattern, and I think I increased 4 on either side. The second one, the first one it's still a little bit tight across the instep. Excuse the motorcycles. So the second one, I increased so that I would have the right amount of stitches to then do a fish lips kiss heel. So I did that, and that one fits better. I don't know if I will continue to use the New Depths heel. I may just increase, because I know the fish lips kiss short rows off by heart, so I don't need to think about it that much, whereas with the New Depths heel is still a short row heel, but it's done differently. But this worked fine, and for non-striping, that's fine. Like for speckled socks, I don't mind doing a short row heel. So those I finally finished. Next, I finished my Gone Glamping socks. This is Nomadic Yarns Brit sock in the Gone Glamping colorway. I'm starting to use, this is a true afterthought heel, but instead of just doing a toe style heel, I'm using a toe from the, I think it's Sock Architecture by Laura Neal, I think. I think it's the thumb joint toe. So I just knit straight, and then I do a decreases around. So those are finished. These have not been worn or washed or anything. I have been knitting my socks longer recently. I don't know if anyone's really noticed. I used to knit like super short socks, but I'm actually finding that the longer cuff lets them stay up better. So I'm knitting a longer cuff. The next thing is I have a classic cuffed hat. I've been doing some knitting for the Coats for Kids program that's here in Winnipeg, providing hats and winter wear for poorer families and children and refugees and stuff. So this is a classic cuffed hat by Pearl Soho. This is out of Madeline Tosh Vintage in the Steam Age colorway. I did alternate skeins for this. I didn't for a little bit. I don't know if you can see where it stops kind of. You can see it starting to pool kind of in this section here. And then I started alternating, and it still kind of looks pooly. But that's okay. I did helical knitting the whole way up until I got to like the decrease section. And then I could not, I couldn't continue. This is the child size, I believe. I'm not even 100% sure. So, and it says the pattern has you put a pom-pom on. This is not washed. I don't know if I will. I won't. I won't put a pom-pom on it. I don't know if kids will wear it then if it has a pom-pom on it. But it is a little bit of a bigger size. And then I knit a pair of the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. This is out of Sweet Georgia Yarns. Superwash worsted in the grape color. It is not that blue. It is like a reddish, a more red purple than a blue purple. But my shirt is very blue purple, so it's, I think it's turning them. Yeah, I'm not getting the right color on it. These are, I believe, the child size. I don't even know. Next, I have a Bumble hat. This is also by Tin Can Knits. This is out of Madeline Tosh Farm Twist in the Beautiful Liar colorway. This is the toddler size. I didn't think I'd have enough yarn to do the child size, so I did a toddler hat. Actually turned out, I tried to do this hat a while ago and it kind of scared me because it has you do like a normal like US 4 or 5 for the ribbing, and then it has you like go up to like a US 10.5 for this slip stitch pattern, and I like freaked a little, but it does actually, the stitch does, yeah, don't be scared of it. But it works really nicely with this variegated yarn, and the inside is almost better than the outside. So technically I could send this as the outside, but I think I'll just keep it as per the pattern. And then I have one more. I finished a, oh, what even is this hat? Northward hat, also by Tin Can Knits, because I find that they have the simplest, the most, and the simplest patterns that have sizes right from baby to adult. And I own most of their books anyway. There's some like single patterns that I don't own, but all of their like books that were published, I have all of those. So this is the Northward by Tin Can Knits. I use Madeline Tosh, I think it's ASAP. No, Madeline Tosh Home, which is a bulky weight in the Flycatcher blue color. This is the last skein I had of I had, I think, 4 skeins of this. I used the rest to knit a Sonder shawl. So I was just trying to use up scraps. Those are all my finished objects. I do have more scraps set to the side that I'm going to do. I want to do a beloved bonnet or two. Yeah, Beloved by Tin Can Knits. I want to do a couple of those. I may do a Trumpeter's Toque by Rosemary Hill. It came out recently. But we'll see. Next for whips. Okay, so I recast on my Handspun Socks. This is a Handspun chain plied. This is a focus, camera, focus. Oh, the lights just, the lighting is, it's really bright and sunny outside and I have the blinds open and that's the only lighting I'm using. And the windows, of course, this way. That's why this is kind of blowing out, but this is the Care Paravel, I think. No, Castrovel Lily. It's a BFL nylon. It was a club colorway from Into the World. I chain plied it. So I have recast on. I'm using 64 stitches on a US 1.5. That's 2.5 millimeter needle. I am this far. Not that far. I'm panicking. I've been slow on knitting this because I feel like it's too wide, but it looks bigger than when I knit like a commercial sock. My commercial socks are maybe like from this edge to like here, but they have a lot more stretch. There's a lot more elasticity, I feel, before the stitches start to look funny when they stretch, which I think is just because it's hand spun. I don't really know. I'm still really learning. I'm still a newbie at knitting hand spun, so that's been going. Fats Grow Fiber, Parks bag. Next, also in a Fats Grow Fiber bag. This one has buttons on it. I'm knitting a pair of socks out of Desert Vista Dye Works. Desert Vista Dye Works. The Vizio base, which is her sparkle. And this self-striping is Zombody's Driving the School Bus. Now, my mom drove school bus for 14 years, so I bought this to make a pair of socks for her. And I am done one sock minus the heel. This base is like super sparkle. Like it's so interesting. Some sparkle bases aren't that sparkly. Some sparkle bases are like super sparkly. These are like super sparkly. So I'm done the first one, except for the heel. And I have started the second one. Whoop! I am done the ribbing, and I have just started the first stripe. As you can see, my self-striping stocks do not match. I never bother to start them at the same place because, frankly, I don't care. And I don't think anybody's going to be looking at the socks enough to notice, and my mom's never said she cares. So in order to minimize waste, because, okay, so this one started, you can see I have, the cast on edge has one row of gold and then the purple speckle. So I start my long tail cast on where a color change happens so that I know where to start it next time for the second sock in case I want to do matching socks. So you can see here I have gold and then I have the purple speckle. And now here at the toe, I finished on a gold and I used up almost all of the gold. I had like maybe 2 inches of gold left before the purple started, which wasn't enough to cast on. So instead of pulling out a full repeat, basically, before starting the second sock and wasting all that yarn, I just started it at the next color change. So here's the purple is at the bottom, and then I start with the black. Because I don't do contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs, and I'm knitting longer like this from here to when I started the toe decreases was 8 repeats of the color repeats. And I just want to make sure I have enough yarn, and I don't want to waste it. And whenever I pull out a full color repeat just to make it match, I end up throwing that away, and it feels wasteful to me, especially since I'm not buying yarn for right now, at least, and probably for a while yet. So yeah, the next work in progress is my Boxy sweater. This is being knit out of Madeline Tosh, Twist Light in the Wings colorway, which they do not make anymore. I believe this stitch marker or this progress keeper is from Sucre Sucre Miniatures. I don't really like their progress keepers. In comparison to other polymer clay people, their workmanship is not as nice, I find. Not as detailed, not as realistic, kind of. So this is my beginning of round. I am doing helical knitting for this. The progress keeper down here is where I was last time. So you can see I didn't get a whole lot done, but considering I'm knitting across on like over 400 stitches, I feel fine with that. My mom, I brought it. We had Thanksgiving in Canada last weekend. I brought it home and was knitting on it, and my mom said it was ugly. The color was ugly. Of course, she was looking at it from like 5 feet away. But yeah, this is how far I am. I'm enjoying it. I mean, I'm just knitting round and around and around and around and around and around and around we go. I am doing helical knitting, so I do have 2 skeins. I have 5 skeins total with which to do this project. I've used probably at least half a skein of each of them so far. That's all for works in progress and finished objects. For spinning, I am still working on the hand-pulled roving from Fellview Fibers in the, I don't even know. I have no idea. Let's see, projects or handspun. Maybe I have it in my Ravelry doodly-doo. If it even goes there. Oh, okay. Sure. So yeah, it's Fellview Fibers, hand-pulled roving in the Midnight Skies colorway, which is Angelina, Merino, and Tessa Silk. I'm finding it, I'm doing a 2-ply. You get 4 little nests of hand-pulled roving, or no, 8 little nests, so I've split it into 4 each. It's going fairly thin, but I'm having a hard time keeping it consistent. I don't know if it's just the way it's prepped, or if it's the merino plus the way it's prepped. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just doing my standard worsted draft because I wanted to spin it woolen. Sorry, I have a really itchy eye. I wanted to spin it woolen, but I haven't done a lot of woolen, like long draw spinning. And it's really pretty and I didn't want to wreck it. So I've cross-laced my flyer and I'm just spinning it as I normally do. And it's gone already back and forth once for 2 bumps. I actually feel like I'm getting a lot of singles for the amount that I've spun. And I think that's because of the prep. I think because it is a woolen prep with a worsted spun style, I think I am still getting a lighter single than I would if it was combed top. I think that's how it works. But I am not a fiber expert. So I am spinning on that occasionally. I have not been spinning very much recently. Pretty much since Tour de Fleece ended, I haven't really been spinning that much. So yeah, I need to donate my little pile to Coats for Kids soon. I think they do their drive now in October. We've already had snow. Last week, Thursday and Friday, we had a blizzard. And it was like super wet, heavy snow because it was like barely 0 degrees outside. It was barely cold enough for it to snow. And we got Thursday when I got home from work, or for Thursday when I got off of work, I cleared about 3 to 4 inches of snow off my car. Thick, heavy, wet snow. Really good if you want to do like snowball fights or build a snowman. But not so great for cleaning off your car. Friday morning, I cleaned another 3 to 4 inches off my car before I could go anywhere. And Thursday evening at 6 p.m., I lost power. I'm in the middle of Winnipeg. I'm in Old St. Vital, which is an older part of the city, but I'm fairly close to downtown. I'm like in the middle of the city. It takes me half hour to get to the perimeter of the city, like to go to my parents' place. My parents live an hour south of Winnipeg, from the perimeter of Winnipeg. It takes me half an hour to get to the perimeter. to then drive an hour to go see my parents at their house. And we lost power because it's a really old area of the city. There's a lot of really established trees. Like the area is very treed. The parking lot for my apartment building backs right onto the Red River, and it's been flooded. It's like spring. The river has been flooded. We got so much rain in September, and there's parts like the highway that goes south of the city to my parents is the 75 here in Canada. And in the States, once you get to the States in North Dakota, it turns into the I-29, which goes all the way down to Kansas City, I believe. And there were parts of the I-29, because it follows the Red River the whole way, that were flooded because they got so much rain. And the river flows north. It flows north to Hudson's Bay. So it is very flooded. It has been very flooded. They did finally open the floodgates, so it lowered a bit, but then with all the snow and now it's mostly melted, it's even more flooded than it was. And I can't imagine what our spring is going to be like if it ends up freezing at this level. It's going to be insanity because it's almost where it was this spring when we had flooding. So the power came back on sometime Friday during the day. And the reason why the power went out is because it was really windy and the leaves had not fallen off the trees yet. So they were gathering all of this wet, heavy snow, like upwards of 7 or 8 inches of wet, heavy snow. And then trees were breaking. They were falling. Branches were falling, and they were downing power lines. There, Friday morning, like when the power first went out at 6 p.m. on Thursday, they said it would be up by 9:30. Then they said it would be up by 2:30 in the morning. Then they said it would be up by 9:30 in the morning. Well, by the time I was checking the power outages at work Friday morning, because work was not out of power, there were over 20,000 people in Manitoba that were out of power. And out in the outlying, like the Interlake region between Lake Winnipeg and Lake Manitoba, there are still quite a few people that do not have power. Like Manitoba Hydro has been working like insanity. My parents didn't have power for, I think, 2 days down in Altona. Yeah, it's just been nuts. Like we don't usually get that much snow at this time of year. We usually do get snow before Halloween, but it's usually like just a light layer that melts as soon as it hits, pavement kind of stuff. But because it went on for so long, it was pretty bad. It stopped overnight Friday, and like I said, now it's pretty much gone. But yeah, it was pretty bad. We did go to the park that weekend, that Saturday, because I had Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, because Monday was Thanksgiving. Monday I went to my parents. Saturday we went to the park, and there was like water underneath the snow the whole way around, mud in a lot of places underneath the snow. But yeah, it was fun. I had a candle going. I was trying to spin navy blue yarn by candlelight. I gave that up real fast. And then I tried to knit by candlelight. I only have one candle. I cannot knit without looking. I knit maybe 4 rows and then I put it down. Just a stockinette on a sock. Put it down, couldn't do it. Kept splitting it and then having to try to figure out like what the flip was going on. So yeah, it was fun. On a more serious note, excuse me. With all of the talk that's been going on Instagram, which I'm sure all of you are aware of, and in the knitting community in general with racism and inclusivity and stuff like that, I saw something on either one of the tags that I follow or one of the people that I follow where she wasn't going to be mentioning yarns or patterns anymore on her Instagram because she didn't think that she should be providing free advertising for yarn dyers and pattern designers. And I kind of agree with her. Like I don't have a very big audience. I think I get maybe 20 views per episode, whatever. And I'm not that concerned about it. I don't have a knitting group really that I go do anything with. So It's nice to just be able to talk about the stuff. But like, I am voluntarily, and on Instagram, like when I post something on Instagram, the reason why I tag the designers is, or the yarn dyers and stuff, is because people follow hashtags, right? And I want to show my things, and by hashtagging the yarn dyer and the pattern designer or their hashtags or whatever, it gets more people potentially looking at it. But who cares? Like, I'm giving free advertising to companies, some of which, like Madeline Tosh is not a small yarn company. I am giving free advertising to them every time I mention them in my podcast, or hashtag MadTosh on Instagram, or whatever. Stephen West is, I mean, I don't need to pick on, but I'm picking big designers and yarn dyers for a reason. Stephen West is, of course, an independent yarn or pattern designer and book publisher. Now he's just released his third book. Again, see, I'm providing him free advertising every time I hashtag West Knits Best Knits, or, you know, whatever the hashtag is. And I know that a lot of advertising in the knitting community, especially for independent designers, dyers, stitch marker makers, project bag makers, the majority of their advertising is either done through their podcast or through Instagram, because it's free. Well, it takes time, right? But you don't have to have a website, pay for a website. You don't have to pay to create a podcast and upload it to YouTube. You can do that for free. It just takes your time, which of course is valuable, but it's not like you're paying a monetary amount for like an advertisement on Ravelry, or like in a world of insanity, like a TV ad or a magazine ad. Yes, there are traditionally magazines were, that's how you design it. And Pom Pom has ads in their magazines and whatever, and that's fine. These people have paid for that advertisement to be in that knitting magazine. And independent yarn dyers who rely on their podcast to help sell their yarn, which is a lot of the podcasts that I watch, honestly. That's their advertising, is building their podcast brand and talking about the things that they are selling. But why should I use my podcast time to advertise for free for them? Like, I'm not getting any kind of benefits. I have paid for the yarn or patterns or whatever that I am using. And then I'm going to turn around and give free advertising. I don't know how I feel about it. And I don't think there is a one size fits all answer to it. I am leery of it. But at the same time, if I'm not going to list the yarn and the pattern designer and stuff, then I'm just showing a bunch of random stuff, and people may ask. Like, people want to know, especially for bigger podcasters, they want to know, like, oh, I knit this hat out of bulky yarn. People are going to want to know who the designer is. They're going to maybe want to know what the color is because they like it, or the yarn because they like it, or, you know, they want to know. And I'm sure once you're a bigger podcaster, you get more questions about stuff like that. But, you know, someone may want to replicate this Bumble hat. I don't even know. I mean, I know Madeline Tosh still does their farm twist, but I don't know if they still dye Beautiful Liar. And then it comes to the whole thing, like, am I investigating every single yarn dyer, podcaster, or pattern designer, project bag maker to make sure that they are inclusive, that they are supporting people of color, like that they haven't made any question. Madeline Tosh did some questionable things at the beginning of the year. I haven't bought anything from them, but I have a lot of their yarn in my stash. And I'm still providing free advertising for them by mentioning them, possibly like today, multiple times in my podcast for a company that has done questionable things. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just figured it would be interesting to start a discussion on it, or at least discuss it through my head, because sometimes you need to talk it out, right? Despite the fact that nobody may talk back to you, you still need to express it and talk it out, and then you can make more sense of it in your own head instead of just ruminating on it. So yeah, that's kind of what's going through my head. I mean, I could have just said this is a pattern from Ravelry, then I'm advertising Ravelry for free. Where does the line end? It's knit out of DK weight yarn, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, you can go to my Ravelry page then and look it up and find out, because all my projects are on Ravelry. All my things are linked in Ravelry. I'm linked to the patterns. I'm linked to the yarn. Everything's linked in Ravelry. So maybe that's just what I should do. This is a hat, toddler size, knit out of DK weight yarn. You can find details on my Ravelry page. Maybe that's the answer for me specifically. It's maybe not the answer for everybody, but that's maybe the way that I'm thinking of going, because I should be looking at what each yarn designer, dyer, and pattern designer, and bag maker, anyone that I mention, what they're doing. The majority of them I feel okay about. I haven't been following Madeline Tosh, so I have not looked. My Ghost Horses test knit has been ripped out since we last spoke, which took for flippin' ever because it's color work the whole way through. I was almost at this anyway. Not going to get into that, but it is ripped out. I feel pretty confident about the majority of the things that I use. And like I said, I'm not buying yarn. The last skein of yarn I bought, I think, was Lavender Loon, April or something. I have a lot of yarn that I have purchased in the past that I am going to be using, that I need to use, that I do not want to replace because I cannot afford to replace it even if I destash it. And it's pretty. I already paid for it. It's already dead money, basically. It's like when a business holds inventory, like a restaurant when they hold a lot more stock than what they need. That's dead money sitting in your freezer or whatever. In a store that has a lot of inventory on stock, it's all dead money sitting there until you sell it. It's dead money. It's just you're holding inventory. Yarn dyers, for example, when they have bare yarn sitting in their workshop or their dye studio or whatever, that's dead money. Until they turn it into something and sell it, they've already spent the money on that. They've invested in that. It's dead money. Because by itself, they don't usually sell it by itself, right? You still have to put in effort into it in order to make money off of it. And then for some, it's a matter of hoping it sells, right? So I have a lot of dead money and I'm not planning on reselling it, right? So it's just money that I've already spent. It's already done. The money's already been given. The support of that dyer or pattern designer or whatever has already been given. I can't get my money back, So I may as well use what I have and be more cautious of purchasing in the future, in going forward, being more mindful of where I purchase from going forward. I think for me to go down this guilt spiral of, oh, I spent money on these things and I feel so bad. I can't change that I can't change where I spent money in the past. I just can't. All I can do is be more mindful about where I spend my money in the future, who I support. You support people with your dollars. So yeah, I hope that is helpful or makes sense, or it makes you ask questions. You know, I think we need to be critical thinkers. Honestly, that's what my whole degree was about. That's what I do every day at work is I think critically about everything that I look at, everything that people do. I'm looking for mistakes. I'm looking for, does this make sense? I'm looking for, does this protect the company? I'm looking for, does this get us paid as a company? You know, so that's basically everything that I do. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments or anything, I appreciate feedback as always. I enjoy discussions, debates, etc. And I hope you are really enjoying what you're knitting, and I will talk to you later. Bye.